let's talk about how Saudi Arabia is deeply, deeply involved in government policy now.
Fresh off winning the presidential election, Donald Trump appeared at a UFC event, flanked by bullet-headed UFC CEO Dana White and Elon Musk, who had just spent $270 million electing Trump. But there was another person there who wielded as much influence and wealth as pretty much anyone alive. Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the head.
What's in the hole? It's a nice little comfortable living space for the people that like shouldn't be part of our society. It's the place where God puts the people who are naughty. It's timeout space, you know? The shadow realm.
Of the Public Investment Fund, the Saudi state-run sovereign wealth fund, which controls about $930 billion.
So, this is
Al-Rumayyan could claim some degree of ownership.
By the way, this is very, like, overt. Like, they don't even try and hide this. You can, like, look up any amount of data to prove this, but, like, this video is just kind of a nice compilation. Just Google Saudi and Trump or Saudi Elon. Go for it.
Of practically everyone and everything around him that November night. From UFC, which was planning some splashy events for Saudi Arabia, to Elon Musk, whose companies had long been recipients of Saudi investment capital, and Trump himself, a stalwart Saudi ally whose political, economic, and family interests had come to depend on Saudi largesse.
It's clear that Saudi Arabia has been investing in Trump and Trump world for a long time.
I love the Saudis. Many are in this building.
Lobbyists representing the Saudi government paid for an estimated
own an entire floor of Trump Tower.
I love the Saudis. Many are in this building.
Lobbyists representing the Saudi government.
Oh, come on, I just wanted to read that headline. Don't go too fast. Come on.
I love the Saudis. Many are in this building.
Exclusive. Donald Trump made millions from Saudi Arabia, but trashes Hillary Clinton for Saudi donations to the Clinton Foundation. By the way, that's really clear evidence that the Saudis have been infiltrating our government for quite a long time. This is when I say, when I talk about foreign interference in our politics, in our government, and I say, you know, Russia, China, this also includes Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey. Like, we are not functioning outside of foreign interference in any way, shape, or form. Every country gets to just buy a piece of America.
Yes, representing the Saudi government paid for an estimated 500 rooms at President Trump's D.C. hotel.
The Live Golf Invitational.
The Saudi-backed golf tour.
At the Trump National Doral.
Have a good time, everybody. They buy apartments from me. They spend $40 million, $50 million.
Trump Tower.
Signs up to put up a brand new Trump Tower in Saudi Arabia.
Jeddah.
Am I supposed to dislike them? I like them very much.
And foreign governments, they understand. They're dealing with the transactional president.
Crown Prince, thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
And now, as we head into a second Trump administration, the question is, what more do they want?
How would you describe the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia?
I think it's fine, but with me it will be GREAT, great.
It sounds to me like he's kind of just sucking the Saudis off here. I'm happy for you, Leftist Leo. That's awesome.
The host of the FIFA World Cup 2034 will be Saudi Arabia.
What we're seeing with Saudi Arabia is unprecedented because of the sheer amount of money that they put in.
Kareem Zidane is an investigative sports journalist.
They're investing in absolutely everything.
Al-Rumayyan's appearance at the UFC fight wasn't just about Trump. Sports have become a key part of Saudi Arabia's investment and influence peddling strategy.
And by the way, this is how Red Bull got big, by the way. Like, Red Bull, no one thinks of Red Bull and thinks about, like, how good Red Bull is. But Red Bull got popular because it invested a lot of money in sports, specifically, like, alternative or extreme sports, to give them the reputation of, you know, this is a sports drink, that people who are active drink this kind of stuff, and that worked. Sports is an excellent propaganda tool.
Kareem and his colleagues at Play of the Game mapped over 910 sponsorships from Saudi entities in 2024 across the globe. There's the ownership of the Premier League's Newcastle United, the creation of Live Golf, a competitor to the PGA Tour.
Saudi-backed golf tournament announces $200 million investment in sports.
Sponsorship for the Women's Tennis Association, backing Formula One's Aston Martin. There's MMA, esports, equestrianism, wrestling, cycling, billiards, and a potential new venture into boxing.
As a matter of fact, it might be
All of this is an easy way to build up an audience base that consistently watches and doesn't question things because, you know, sports. We're not thinking about politics here. And it's an easy way for them to codedly slip political messaging into sports.
Easier to list the sports that Saudi Arabia hasn't invested in. Honestly, I can't think of one at the moment.
The Saudis would call it investing. Others call it sports washing.
Sports washing is the deployment of sports as a means of reputation laundering. When countries use sports and major sports events, for example, to distract from human rights abuses. When Saudi
you know who was also involved in some of that? The Saudis.
Arabia invests in sports, it's really looking for geopolitical influence. It's looking to recraft its own global image. It might not reap the most significant monetary return.
I mean, human rights are good, but the Saudis are trying to buy out all the sports all around the world so that they could use their political influence to help reduce human rights, Khalid.
But I don't think that's what they're interested in from sports. They're looking at influence, and I think they're doing a damn good job about it, as much as I don't want to say that.
And this is happening with other Saudi investments too.
What's your take on the unabashed expansion of the Saudi investment fund into Silicon Valley?
In 2016, then Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, made a well-publicized trip to Silicon Valley. By 2018,
maybe you keep watching. I could probably guess that you were Saudi, and realistically, we're talking about how the Saudis have bought Donald Trump and how they're trying to influence America. By the way, they've also been doing this well before Donald Trump too, because, you know, Hillary Clinton was also involved. The Saudis have been involved in U.S. government policy and have been investing in the United States for a very, very long time. There's a reason why Saudi Arabia never came up after 9/11, even though Osama bin Laden was a Saudi-born national and, you know, his family was secretly spirited away out of the United States after 9/11 by the United States back to Saudi Arabia so that, you know, they didn't get hurt.
2018, Saudi Arabia was the single largest investor in US startups. But where was that money going and what was it doing? Let me give you an example.
Heck.
Twitter. When Twitter was a public firm, the Saudi Kingdom Holding Company was its largest outside shareholder, owning a bigger part than even co-founder and longtime CEO Jack Dorsey.
They still own
But it
about
wasn't
half.
just a financial relationship, as I've covered in my reporting. Twitter has long been an important place for the Saudi government to propagandize on behalf of MBS's economic program, flood Saudi-related discussions with posts from pro-regime trolls, and track and harass dissidents, some of whom have been doxxed, arrested, and tortured. In 2014, Twitter's leadership learned that a key MBS advisor was running a spy ring inside Twitter's San Francisco headquarters. Twitter never publicly accounted for its role in fostering
We talk a lot about Russia, we talk a lot about China, we talk a lot about Israel, like influencing US politics. We do not talk enough about Saudi Arabia.
Saudi spy ring. Jack Dorsey enjoyed a chummy meeting with MBS just 6 months after the Twitter CEO had been told by the FBI that his company had an espionage problem. They weaponized their investment, used it to spy on, target, and harass critics. And they did it all without any consequences. And their investment...
there's at least a 50% chance that Khalid here is working for the Saudi government. Now, I'm not saying that you are, but, I mean, there's a decent chance. You can't deny that.
Continues today.
Let's fight.
So back to the fight. And another guest, Elon Musk. When Twitter went private under Musk, Kingdom Holding Company rolled its shares into the new private entity and became its second largest.
No, it's not unfair. I'm not even claiming that you are. I'm just saying based on the information of they have money, they're influencing tech companies, and they still are. It's not just Twitter. They have invested in all of Silicon Valley. And so, which is a part of this. There is a real chance that this could be a thing. It's not my fault that reality doesn't, like, line up with what you want it to. I'm not claiming that you're a Saudi spy, but I can't say that you're not. No, I'm not. I'm talking about where did I say casualties from 9/11? I'm saying that we literally spirited Osama bin Laden's family away from the United States back to Saudi Arabia. I said nothing else about 9/11 there. That's all I did. All I said is we brought them home. Yeah, that's all I said though. Exactly. You're not even listening. All I said was we removed the people that were here, that were related to Osama bin Laden, put them on a private jet, and sent them home. All I said. Said nothing more than that. You are making shit up in your head. You're arguing with a version of me that doesn't exist.
Investor after Musk. But Twitter wasn't the only tech giant receiving backing from the Saudis. In April 2023, Sanibel, the venture capital arm of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, did something surprising. It published a list of dozens of American venture capital and private equity firms it had partnered with, showing just how widely the kingdom's money was being spread around.
Basically everything.
Tech, AI, surveillance, media. But the influence purchasing campaign doesn't end in Silicon Valley.
I would like to bring up the CEO of Affinity Partners and former senior advisor to the White House, Jared.
Okay. See ya, Saudi spy.
Kushner.
That's Jared Kushner, the husband of Trump's daughter, Ivanka. He served as a senior advisor in the first Trump administration and was everywhere. And by all accounts, he had a lot of influence on his father-in-law. But he's known—
Does that mean, should I not have banned him?
For one thing above all else.
It seemed as if from the get-go that Jared Kushner was charged with cultivating the relationship with the Saudis.
Virginia Cantor is Chief Ethics Counsel at Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington.
It appears to be that at the end of the administration—
I thought you were going charge sport. Why you're back, are you?
Payoff was a $2 billion investment in this investment fund.
Just months after leaving the White House in 2021, Kushner's newly minted investment group, Affinity Partners, secured a $2 billion commitment from the Saudi Public Investment Fund, or PIF.
Again, like billions of dollars are being invested in the United States, being invested in like organizations that are directly connected, directly connected to members of Donald Trump's extended family, members of the government, because again, the Saudis own an entire floor of Trump Tower, and investment in Silicon Valley, which is the tech ghouls who literally own all of the media. So there is a large amount of influence that they are building. And that influence is being weaponized in smaller ways, but it will be weaponized more and more and more the more solidified and consolidated their power gets.
The news raised a lot of eyebrows.
Some next level sleaze and grift going on right in front of our eyes.
This is just putting a price tag on American foreign policy.
I've been in this business 40 years. This is extraordinary, unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it.
The reason it was so egregious, he had no experience in that field.
The panel responsible for screening potential PIF investments reportedly voiced serious concerns about Kushner's lack of experience. But the board was overridden by MBS, the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia. That news raised even more eyebrows.
Isn't that a nice story of friendship? Things you do for your bros?
MBS proved to be a close ally to Kushner in the first Trump administration.
Oh, I know. Thank you, guys. I was just wondering if it was mean. Because, like, I don't know. I like to be fair.
Working closely with him on various Middle East diplomatic negotiations. They worked so closely, in fact, that MBS reportedly told others he had Kushner in his pocket.
It appears to be a payoff based on Mr. Kushner's dealings with the Saudi government and particularly MBS during the Trump administration.
A Senate investigation found that Kushner's fund raked in $157 million in management fees, all while generating no return on investment for his clients.
Do you understand, like, the level of corruption that it takes to be able to openly do something like this? For a foreign company to invest money in the son-in-law of the president of the United States and then have it collect $157 million while generating no return for investment on its clients. Directly.
Clients. Jared, of course, sees no problems with the $2 billion transaction.
For my critics, what I say is point to a single decision we made that wasn't in the interests of America.
Okay, I'll point to one. How about letting an ally kill a Washington Post columnist, Jared?
True.
What was really troubling about the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, there was every indication that it was carried out by the Saudis. Basically,
Turkey was losing its shit over this one.
You know, Kushner and President Trump gave MBS a pass by virtue of not, you know, calling them out.
Why are you siding with the Saudis over your own intelligence?
You guys understand how much the Saudis own Trump, that he's begging them to increase oil production right now? Because they're the reason why that's part of the reason why gas prices are high. The other part is all the tariffs that he's putting down. But he's literally begging OPEC to increase oil production because the domestic companies, the domestic gas companies, Exxon, are fossil. The drill baby drill shit ain't happening. They don't trust him enough to do it because they know that he is connected to the Saudis and that if they start drilling, then he might fuck it up for them by doing something the Saudis want when, I don't know, Saudis start losing money because American production went up too high. Yeah, I thought he was going to drill baby drill. He wants the Saudis to drill baby drill now because the American companies are like, nah, fuck that.
Because it's America first to me.
Well, they won't openly say anything. They're cowards, of course. And they also, own him. He's just going to reduce regulation for them so that they don't have to worry about how they do things. But they're not increasing oil production. We already produce the largest amount of oil and natural gas in the world in this country. Like, no one else produces anywhere near as much as we do. But the gas that you get at the pumps is crude oil that we import from overseas because we have the world's best refineries. It's cheaper that way. But it doesn't matter. They don't trust him. I wouldn't either.
That definitely set the tone for how they were going to deal with human rights violations by the Saudis. And it wasn't just that. There were other incidents.
And the list is a long one. There is the use of his second presidential veto.
A resolution putting an end to the U.S. military involvement in Yemen.
Allowing continued U.S. support to the Saudi...
I could probably think of like 10 if you gave me a minute. Oh yes, the war in Yemen. We continued that. I mean, to be fair, that wasn't just Trump. That was pretty much all of us. But again, they've owned a lot of America for a long time. This goes back like before Obama. This goes back to before Bush era America.
Military involvement in Yemen.
Allowing continued U.S. support to the Saudi-backed war in Yemen. There's his abandonment of the Iran nuclear deal.
The United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Saudi Arabia views Iran as one of its biggest enemies.
That is the reason why Iran has a nuclear weapon now, by the way. I'm certain that they currently have one because we had reports from 2 years ago saying that they would likely have one within 6 months. From like Netanyahu even. At the UN, there were several other experts that were estimating that February of 2024, they would have developed a nuclear weapon. They almost certainly have one. Now, are they going to use it? No, of course not. But that's the reason. They were still secretly trying to develop one during the deal, but it was much harder because they were doing the things that were required of them. We had international inspectors coming and checking on them. There is a big difference, you know?
Deal.
Saudi Arabia views Iran as one of its biggest enemies.
Now, every time they whinge about Iran's nuclear capability, it's Donald Trump's fault.
Very much adverse to the Obama negotiated Iran nuclear deal. And, that was disrupted as part of the Trump administration.
There's the $110 billion Kushner negotiated arms deal between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia.
There was a blockade involving Qatar.
The president today
Remember, we have been saying that Saudi Arabia commits human rights violations. We should stop sending them weapons for like a decade now.
With the Saudis, the crisis critical to the U.S. Qatar, home to a key U.S. base with 8,000 U.S. service members.
And so this
Also, it's not
unprecedented
Qatar,
closeness
it's Qatar.
is being interpreted in a new light since the 2021 investment from the Saudis to the one person who always has Trump's ear.
Is it both a reward for how Kushner guided the Trump administration's foreign policy regarding Saudi Arabia in the past administration? And does it look like a payoff for how he can influence President-elect Trump in his future dealings with the Saudi Arabia?
Kushner has said he won't take a formal role in the second administration, but reportedly is looking to be an informal advisor on Middle East matters. And the investments in Trump world haven't stopped.
And the primary financial backer of Leave Gulf is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And
it's just because Americans are just, I don't know, it's American pronunciation. It's Qatar.
In deals with the various Trump golf courses. And it's pretty clear, when you have his sons going overseas in this transition period to lock down deals, it's a way of signaling that Trump is open for business. And if you want to be favored, you better be first in line.
When you have someone like Trump, he tends to take the existing corruption in Washington and just turns it up to 11.
Yeah.
Matt Duss is executive vice
That's
president.
What he did the entire time during his last administration. Remember how much money did Donald Trump make in his last administration? He, what was it? About $2 billion that he stole from the government? Threw me off so much when I first saw the vid. Yeah.
At the Center for International Policy.
Mohammed bin Salman, when he visited the Oval Office and Trump pulled out that famous poster with all the different weapons that were on sale as if it was, the side of a Good Humor truck. Here are all the various ice cream and delicious treats that are on sale.
$3 billion.
That's such a good description.
$533 million. $525 million. That's peanuts for you.
And that was funny, but it was also, I think, a great demonstration of how Trump thinks about this. It's just a relationship based on, okay, what are you going to buy from us? What are we going to get from this?
Since 1945, the Saudi-U.S. relationship has been defined by a superpower's willingness to overlook pretty much anything
its like I said, it's been a long time.
Rich ally did. The U.S. got another military foothold in a sensitive region and influence over global energy markets. But this alliance between an unmatched global hegemon and a repressive theocracy has corrupted both sides.
I mean, there were problems with this relationship going back many years, just as there are more deep-seated problems in the way our foreign policy and our policy in general is formulated. The various avenues of influence that
everyone keeps talking about how Israel owns the U.S. Oh, AIPAC owns America. Oh, AIPAC is making AIPAC ain't shit. AIPAC, first of all, again, if you don't already know, is not run by Israel. It's an American pact that is run by right-wing Christian evangelicals. It is like almost nothing AIPAC lobbies for has anything to do with Israel. They lobby for right-wing, authoritarian, Christian nationalist stuff inside of the United States. Nothing to do with Israel. The name AIPAC is there to obfuscate. But again, they're nothing compared to Saudis. They're still playing on like the easy mode, the child's level. The Saudis have bought the government like before any of us were born, most likely.
Very wealthy interests have. And I think the influence that the Saudi regime has been able to garner is a reflection of that much bigger problem.
And they are exercising that influence, especially in their efforts to secure a U.S.-Saudi defense pact.
Securing an agreement in which the United States committed...
That would be really bad, but I don't see it like as an unlikely thing to happen. This would be really fucking bad, though.
Guaranteed to protect Saudi Arabia. It's a sign of approval from a global superpower. It's a kind of normalization of Saudi Arabia to say that you're just another normal country, and this is how normal countries behave.
Saudi Arabia.
There's a reason that you don't hear anything about the Saudis growing up. That's the kind of the point.
Worked hard during the Biden administration to secure a defense pact with the U.S. Despite Biden's promises to get tough on the Saudis.
Fox News doesn't talk about them, so your dad wouldn't hear about it.
With the U.S. despite Biden's promises to get tough on the Saudis.
Make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
They came close to getting.
And I think we're going to see that kind of approach continuing, essentially trying to bid up the United States to get as much out of the United States in terms of commitments and support into the future. Would the United States get anything that's remotely?
The United States is just a big shopping mall for other countries.
Worth a commitment of sending young American women and men to defend this regime? I think the answer is clearly no.
As the second Trump administration begins, with all of its financial ties to the country, what more could be on the table for Saudi Arabia?
Certainly, we should be aware of the acute danger of Saudi influence in a Trump administration.
Again, the oil companies refuse to drill because they know that Trump is bought by the Saudis. They don't trust him to not fuck them over if their oil production starts to harm the Saudis, bottom line.
But ultimately, if we really want to solve
Saudi
this
Arabia
problem,
first,
we need to
really
understand that it goes much deeper and is much more long-standing than just with Trump.
These billions pouring into sports leagues, entertainment companies, tech firms, what does it actually buy?
We've become very good friends.
I wonder how long until he converts and becomes Brother Donald.
For a fairly short period of time.
100 corporations in a trench coat. Exactly.
We are with Saudi Arabia. We're staying with Saudi Arabia.
It buys silence.
Mashallah, mashallah, Brother Donald.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It buys power.
Deputy Crown Prince, thank you very much. This was a great day and a great honor.
What price did we really pay? What price did the world pay?
And now it's time to keep our eyes on just what it could buy in a second Trump administration.
We really have a great friendship, a great relationship, and I think we'll probably only get better.
What else is left for them?